all of you had a chance to press the leave button and leave those groups. But see us here, we are still here. We stayed to the end. We had those discussions and we're still here back to this plenary. So we don't take that for granted. Let's take this to the very end. Colleagues, at this juncture, I'd like to welcome you to this plenary, and we are going to get feedback from the groups. I'll ask the group lead, whoever will be presenting on behalf of the team, to kindly only stick to 2 minutes. Again, please, let's stick to 2 minutes in the interest of time. Let's just highlight the key issues that came out, as I'm aware that most of the other details will be circulated in a circular that will follow. So for this sake of this presentation, let's stick to 2 minutes. Allow me to invite group one, the group that was led by my sister Nancy Madigu and my brother Sylvester Aura. Over to you.
Thank you so much, David. Just like to report about what we discussed in group one. We were looking at the role of private sector, the government, and the civil society on how to improve food and nutrition security. And we also looked at the role of small-scale farmers in enabling shaping of the policy. One of the things that came out very clearly is that the discussion has to be centered around the farmers, and the discussion has to be at the micro level, in the sense that farmers have many challenges. For instance, we realize that most of them are misinformed in terms of the pesticides to use for their crops. They are misinformed about the fertilizers they use for their crops. At the end of the day, they tend to make a lot of losses and, of course, incur a lot of production costs. So one of the things that came forward is that the farmers need help, need probably a platform for networking. They also need probably a lot of assistance in terms of agricultural extension. And so we also looked at how the farmers is going to be helped with all the private sector looking very helpful, the government on the other side providing the trust and enabling environment. And one of the things that came out clearly is that the government is actually the backbone of all this. Once the government has set the structure like a tree, then we have the private sector and also the civil society coming in to help the farmers to bear fruit. And it's only by doing that, by the farmers, the whole process being looked at as a SWOT analysis, that the problems of the farmers can be able to come out and the solutions can be able to be developed in the interest of the farmer. And this has to be from bottom to up approach. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you indeed, Nancy. And we really appreciate the good work that has happened in breakout room number 1. Allow me to now welcome breakout room number 2, led by my brother, Nico Diambo, and my sister, Edith Kemunto.
Yeah, thank you so much. We were in group 2 and we were discussing basically the role of smallholder farmers, and what role they play in the bigger ecosystem. And so we came to realize that they're going through a lot of challenges in terms of there is no proper marketing. They do not know how to take their goods from the farm to the market in a way that seamlessly makes them earn their fair living. There's too many middlemen, too many vested interests in the whole value chain, and there's need to just kind of streamline that whole process. There's a lot of power dynamics with regards to so that now there's a lot of competition between smallholder farmers and big food producers and what have you. So we need to find a way of balancing out so that now the smallholder is not disenfranchised against, because the very essence of smallholder is that they're not big corporations, right? So that now we are able to look at them holistically in the backdrop of knowing that they are competing with the big agriculture, and how do we empower them to make the most out of their enterprises. There is also one of the things we can do to support them is to buy directly from them instead of, for instance, there's a lot of food importation. That's because there's the supply follows demand, right? So we are asking for a lot of foreign products in terms of say, even sugar and rice and what have you. But if we're able to, buy from our own producers, we shall, empower the smallholders to make the most out of their ventures. We had a chef in our group as well, who, in her own capacity, she buys directly from farmers, and in this way, she's able to tell their stories and she's able to help them make the most out of um, their productions. There's also conversations around having food sovereignty, capacity building, as well as educating young people to be part and parcel of this whole process. At the same time, we need to have enabling environments for young people who want to see agriculture in favorable light, right? So that now they're not seeing it as something that only failures are part of or only old people are part of. Because for sure, young people are among the biggest demographic, especially in this part of the world, in Africa. So we need to make them love agriculture. How do we empower them to see agriculture favorably? There's also talk about uh, subsidies for healthy food, so that now there's more demand for healthy food as compared to junk food, especially in the wake of COVID-19, and with the knowledge that healthy food boosts our immune system, and junk food, obviously, there's not much it's going to do in this conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nick,
David.
and thank you, Group 2, for that amazing job. Allow me now to welcome Group 3, led by my sisters Leila and Hilda.
Thanks so much, David. So our group topic was talking about power in the food and farming system. I think in summary, though a lot was discussed, as always, we really felt that in response to a loss of power and erosion of democracy in the food system, that we need to unify to be able to claim our right to food. We need to ask questions about chronic hunger. We need to put farmers at the center, which is something I've heard coming as strongly out of Group 1 as well. And we really need ongoing civic education on the issue, not just on topics that seemed hot in the moment. We would see change when we start seeing improved health and well-being of the people of Kenya. We will see change if there is meaningful public participation, if people are meaningfully allowed to and actually able to engage on these issues. And we would also see change if there is increased government support. And this could be through increased budget allocations, especially at a devolved level, and also probably through extension services, again, focusing on smallholder farmers and decentralized farming systems. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leila, and thank you to Group 3 for that amazing job. Allow me now to welcome Group 4, led by my brother, Emmanuel Atamba, and my sister, Faith Katoka.
Thank you very much, David. So I'm going to be presenting for Group 4, and we're looking at the agroecological and biodiversity. And the question you were tackling was, what does a sustainable, resilient, inclusive, and equitable food system look like? And we had a lot of discussions. And some of the main themes or things that came up was that, one, we need to educate the farmers so that they're just not, so they move from producing for money making and more make sure that they think about the products that they're putting out there, because sometimes what you find they're doing is that, for example, you're producing food unsafely because you're thinking, I am not eating this food because it's for sale. But then you go and buy food and you forget that someone else has produced that food. And if they're thinking like you, then you're definitely consuming unsafe food. So there's also need to sort of teach the consumers, the importance of, like, asking questions, pushing, making sure that our food is clean, making sure that our food is produced in a safe way. And one of the points that was really brought out is that the civil society, the government, consumers, and farmers, like, those are some of the main stakeholders when it comes to food production. Like, if we all work together, then, like, if I as a consumer is pushing for clean, safe food, and the farmers are pushing to make sure that they're producing organic food, and not just for commercial use, but also just because it's the good and ethical thing to do, then that would bring in the change that is needed. But there was also a really big point on the need to build strong movements led by farmers, which is something that also came up from a discussion we had with the Kisumu team, where farmers need to come together and make sure that, like, they are not overlooked, hold the government accountable to all the things that they keep promising, and make sure that the farmer is taken care of, and not just through words, but through actions. I think everything else we will bring it out in the notes, because we talked about a lot of things, but I feel like those are the main things that really came out at the top.
Thank you, amazing. Thanks so much, Faith, and good work, and congratulations to group number 4 for that amazing job. And finally, let's have group number 5, led by my sisters Florence Ipala and Feli Mwalia.
Thank you, David. We had a very interesting discussion, and it really got engaging. We started first by thinking about what food means. What is food to us? So we had conversations, people saying food is health, food is a right, food is choice, food is self-care. And it's a number one aspect of food, healthcare, self-care, but also community. So we were discussing food safety and adequacy, and one of the key things that came up is that we really need to have education across the value chain when you're talking about food. So educated consumers, so you can start thinking about, where is my food coming from, and not just where it's coming from at the outlet where you're buying it, but also where did it, where has it gone through, how was it transported, how was it packaged, how was it grown, the situation in the soil. So those are some of the things we discussed in our group. We also felt that we needed to have a look at our knowledge and attitudes and practices. So again, we need to change the mindsets in how we think about agriculture, because then a lot of times we don't, agriculture is not viewed as prestigious, as something that everybody should get involved in. When our results come out for KCSE, KCPE, we don't hear people saying, I want to be a farmer. How do we ensure that we change those attitudes? Because that will also impact in how we are doing, how we go about the way we go about things, but particularly because we also need to also change our to have a return to our agroecology and also indigenous knowledge systems, because they captured some of the ways we want to see our food being grown and being stored, because we also have to think about how we are storing the use. So we also talked about, in terms of the food policies and whether they sufficiently are speaking to food safety. We felt like we have some food policies, but then it might not, there's an issue of enforcement in terms of enforcement and monitoring. So that needs to be looked at. We also need to ensure that people are aware about the long-term impacts of some of the challenges that we have in terms of food safety. But we also have to have hands-on training on agroecology, particularly, and practices, especially using demo farms and ensuring that there's, wider knowledge. We felt that the media has an important role to play, and we have seen the media having an important role to play with regards to food safety. They have highlighted issues about unsafe food, whether it's in milk, meat, aflatoxin or grain and pulses. So again, we need to ensure that continues. So really a call to multi-sectoral approach to addressing these issues. I think we'll stop there in terms of summarizing what we said. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Florence. Thank you so much, Florence, and the amazing team at group number 5. And thanks to everyone looking at what is coming out of the group discussions. Lots and lots and lots of good discussions. we are talking about the role of farmers, and we are all in agreement that farmers should now be at the center of conversations. I like what is coming out of group 3. Lala says that we must now unite. We must now come together. We must now fight this or take this cause together. And that's why we're talking about a systems kind of thinking. The role of civic education is coming in so strongly. The linkages from the farm to the fork, and just the issues around the food chain still coming up so strongly. I was earlier in groups, and I had amazing things also happening. I mean, there's a quote I had, and I like to put it here. And the quote says that if it is not safe, then it is not food. You know yourself. I think that's a very powerful quote, and lots of things coming out of these discussions. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for the conversations that we are having. And this does not stop here. This conversation does not stop here, and we are almost coming to the close. But before that, looking at what is happening in the chat, and I know in the minds of so many of us, we're asking ourselves the question, so what next? We've had this conversation. So where does this end? What is happening next? Where do we move from here? I'd like to invite my co-host for today, Professor Ruth Onyango. Prof, you have 5 minutes to just put everything into perspective now as we close. Give us closing remarks and a way forward in terms of next steps. Welcome, Professor Ruth Onyango.
Thank you, David, host for today. I mean, this has just been amazing. We have taken all this time without even taking a break. That shows the passion in each and every one, and you have stayed on, and you can see we cannot end this today. For me, it's just like it's starting all over again when I became interested in these food issues. You just become so passionate about it. So much is going on, too many media outlets. You don't know what to watch, so much misinformation. Young people, old people, all of us, at the end of the day, like we were told by Kemunto, all of us are consumers. We must have an interest in this. And so just to say out front that we cannot say this ends here, for me, is just the beginning. Secondly, we are all in this, and I normally consider government to be mother and father. And ever since we got rid of public extension, our farmers have smallholder farmers have just been left to just no one, absolutely. They are lost. They can't even produce enough to feed themselves. And we just have to make sure that we put pressure on government to get back public extension, especially for smallholder farmers. We cannot wish them away. We should encourage them to produce, not just for themselves, but also to feed us. But even as they produce, they need education, like this has come through. I want also to say that food matters can also grow the economy. They can create jobs. I say the farming sector, the agricultural sector, is potentially the biggest employer of young people. You can do clean agriculture through hydroponics, but you can also enjoy the soil and touch that soil and be proud that you are producing, even as you become a medical doctor, a lawyer, entrepreneur, fashion designer, a sweeper, whatever you are, you can still enjoy producing food, because we all need this food. And I like the idea of going back to our basics, going back to our traditional foods. This has come through, especially during Corona. We are now looking for those herbs, for those indigenous foods. And I always say Africa someday will feed the rest of the world. But I'm telling you, this is very exciting. So let me just finish by telling you that clearly, please, you are welcome to Vihiga, where we're doing this work. You're welcome to approach us even individually. Let us network. We all need each other, and we all need to also learn from what is going on elsewhere. Let's be proud of who we are and what we do, and do whatever we can where we are. I just want to thank everybody. And let me actually, David, if you don't mind, I want to bring in Jerry, Jerry Karanu, to be the one to talk about next steps and then also give the vote of thanks. Is that okay, David?
Very well, Prof.
Yeah. Soon in the next week, David, we are going to meet in person, okay?
Thank you.
Taken my jab. I'm vaccinated. So I want to, okay. And maybe I can give you corona, but you won't give me. So don't worry about my age. Thank you, everyone.
That would be a big pleasure. Thank you so much.
Stay safe, everyone. You've just been amazing. Yes, yeah.
Thank you so much, Prof. Mary, I would like to introduce you as you come, because Mary is one phenomenal woman. She's amazing, as Prof keeps saying. This lady has put all of us together through the organizational journey of this forum today. I would like to invite her to, as Prof has said, to give us next steps, but also give us a vote of thanks. Welcome, Mary.
Wow, thank you. Thanks, David. It's hard to follow, to come after you and Prof, after you've spoken, but we'll do my best. Thank you to everyone. This dialogue, this event has exceeded what we expected. It started as just a thought, a proposal, and really just seeing how it has come together. There's just so many thanks we have to give. So first, I would like to thank all of you participants in this dialogue. In this dialogue, we've had participants from small-scale producers, civil society, CBOs, national and local government, research, academia, media, local and international NGOs, consumer groups, private companies, human rights advocates, and others. You know, this is a revelation to us that the issue of the right to adequate food, issues of access to food and food safety are close to the hearts of many people. So thank you so much for participating and staying on until the end of this dialogue. Thanks to our esteemed panel from various sectors who spoke from their experiences, and they've inspired us to act differently and to do better. My mother says, when you know better, you do better. So let us be inspired and inspire others to do better. Many thanks to the team of facilitators, including David, our overall facilitator. Thank you so much. Our note takers, our rapporteurs, technical hosts, Sohini in India, volunteers who've been with us through the planning, through this journey, and even those who came later to support. Thank you so much. All of you have made this event run smoothly. And thanks to Internet and Power for allowing us to have a smooth event. Many thanks to our partnering organizations who planned these dialogues for weeks. I think over 9 weeks we've been planning. Welthungerhilfe, WHH, Rural Outreach Africa, the African Population and Health Research Center, the Route to Food Initiative, and SUN CSA. Thank you so much for the time and energy you brought to make this event a reality. Now, to all of us, the food systems transformation work begins. We've had honest conversations. We have proposed actions that will actualize the right to adequate food and ensure sustainable and equitable food systems. Now we need to follow up on this with our duty bearers and also in our own capacities as we do our work. As next steps, we shall synthesize the results of this dialogue. We will share this with you. We will share the proposed solutions with the Ministry of Agriculture here in Kenya and also submit to the UNFSS Secretariat. David likes to quote Jeff Koinange, and I will borrow that quote. It says that when we stop talking, we start fighting. So let us continue talking and working. Not one person has the solution, but we will succeed through collective action. So stay safe and let us continue to be connected. Asanteni sana.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very nice, guys.
Everyone,
Thank
before you
you.
leave, before you leave, ladies and gentlemen, I have to close this officially. Just to say a big thank you to all of you. You've been an amazing audience. We have engaged really well. And as Mary says, the transformational journey has just begun. On my own behalf and on behalf of my family, I really want to thank all of you. And I want to bring greetings from my mom, Patricia, all the way from the village. Yeah, thank you so much. And may God bless you. May the good Lord be with all of you. Adios.